This is Kitty Table Part 2, and the last video I talked about new Christians from the concept or the perspective of a new Christian sitting at the kitty table. This second one, Kitty Table Part 2, is really talking to more seasoned Christians. People who have been Christians for a while. So many times as Christians we get this mindset that in order for them to be used by God, they need to come to church more often, or they need to read more of their Bible, or they need to be saved for a couple of years before they could really be used by God. And I don't see where this is scriptural. I've looked through my Bible and I can't find where we have to pray certain hours, so many hours, or we have to read our Bible so many verses, or we have to be a Christian for so many years before God can use us. The Bible says that God is not a respecter of persons. The Bible also says that He doesn't look at the outward things of man like we do, but He looks at our heart. And that He requires obedience more than He requires sacrifice. So then it's not a matter of how much good we do, or how many times I read the Bible, or how many times I pray. It's a matter of my heart. Where is my heart at? And if you're newly saved, where is your heart at? And if you've been a seasoned Christian, where is your heart at? So many times, I think, if we're not careful, we'll fall into the older brother syndrome from the prodigal son, where we get so frustrated and angry because God's blessing some newly saved Christian, and He hasn't blessed us in 5 years. When in reality, if you're a Christian, the Bible says you have everything that God has, that He's your Father, and all we have to do is ask. But so many times as Christians, I think, especially seasoned Christians, we get so caught up. We get so caught up in doing the things of God that we misplace who God is in our life. We get so used to having to read our Bible, or having to pray, or having to come to church, or having to do good Christian things, that we lose sight of the reason why we're doing them, and it's to grow closer to Jesus. Everything we do should bring us closer to Jesus. If not, then why are we reading our Bible? Why are we praying? Why are we going to church? Why are we doing good things if it's not leading us to Jesus? If you're doing them so that you can sit pridefully at the adult table and look down your nose at the newly saved Christians and forcing them to eat at the kiddie table, then you're doing these things for the wrong reason, and that might be why it seems like Jesus isn't blessing you, because He's looking at you like He looked at the Pharisees, and He's calling you a blasphemer, and He's saying that you're like a skeleton rotting away, and He's just looking at you, and Jesus, I believe, is wanting to know, why are you doing this? As Christians, why are we treating newly saved Christians like they have to reach some kind of a goal before we can allow them to be used by God? Like it's up to us whether God uses them or not. Newsflash for the Christians that are sitting at the adult table refusing to allow newly saved Christians to sit with them. Jesus doesn't need your permission to use them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but He doesn't need your permission to use newly saved Christians. And I think it's about time that as a seasoned Christian, myself and someone that's been saved for a while, that it's time for all of us that have been saved for a while to stop putting up boundaries and making newly saved Christians jump through hoops like they're a dog at a dog show. And just showing them Jesus. Yes, I do believe that they need to be counseled and they need to be mentored, and they don't need to be thrusted into the head of a ministry. I'm not talking about making them the head of a ministry. I'm just talking about letting them minister. Letting them help out. Letting them volunteer. Letting them be used by God to reach out to a world that doesn't know that God exists. They have talents. They have abilities. Let's stop pushing them to the kiddie table until they get spiritually old enough to comprehend what we're saying. Let's show them Jesus and let Jesus teach them what we're saying. Let's stop drawing a definitive line between the adult table and the Christian kiddie table, because that line isn't scriptural and those tables aren't biblical. There's one table. Jesus sits at the head, and all of his children sit under him. So as seasoned Christians, let's stop forcing newly saved people to sit at a kiddie table till they grow close enough to Jesus to join us. How about we pull up a chair right next to us, have them sit next to us, and follow us as we follow Jesus?